what's up guys? I mentioned in the last video where we worked on the rear end of the S14 that me and Tom were going to answer some of your guys' questions on that YouTube video in case you had some for him on the fabrication side, or just random questions for me that I didn't answer in the last Q&A. We would do that, and also you guys get to know Tom a little bit better. Also, the LS Quan stickers and the Bad to the Boner stickers, I had mentioned them in the last video and a few people had picked some up. More so the Carlos Bad to the Boner sticker, so that's awesome. I honestly thought that the LS sticker would do better, but if not, check them out. The link's in the description below. So this video's only been out for like 3 hours, but it's late. It's like 11 o'clock at night, so we want to do this and then do a video on the car all tonight, which is another long night. Here we go. Alright, first question, YouTube user Colton Martin. For Tom, how many years have you been welding and what are all your settings set on your welder?
Ooh.
MIG and TIG.
I've been welding since I was, I'd say, probably 18, and I'm 34 now, so however many years that is. And settings on my welder, that's like one of the most common questions that people ask, but the fact of the matter is that every single machine functions differently. So every single machine needs different settings, you know. But I'll tell you what I run on mine, like on like stainless steel and stuff like that. When I'm doing like downpipes or exhaust work or anything like that, typically I'll use about 45 amps. Yeah, I mean 45 for exhaust work. If I'm doing roll cage tubing, depending on the material, and I'm TIG welding it, it's going to be about 70 to 80 amps. And then MIG welding, it you know, it all varies too. But I can the amps display is broken on my MIG welder, so I couldn't tell you the exact amps I run, but I could tell you which dials are turned.
But for TIG, those are the settings.
Yeah, so if you have more questions, I mean, you can message me on Instagram and I can get into more detail on it, but usually every single machine is going to be a little bit different.
In here madness for Tom. I noticed you've been a bin and cage guy in Oregon. Both have been using steel tube for the whole car. I'm guessing you're saying you and the guy in Oregon both used steel tubing for the whole car. What is the difference and why didn't you guys use chromoly? Is it worth the money? So why didn't you use chromoly? All
right, chromoly just up until I think like last year or year before, chromoly was not allowed per FD specs. Chromoly is fantastic for roll cages. I've used it in drag racing cages a bunch. That's what's in my Mustang. You're allowed to use a lot thinner diameter tubing, so you save a lot of weight on it because it's stronger, but it's also brittle. Once a chromoly cage is crashed, it's done. There's really no repairing it. You know, when you use a Dom tubing or something like that, when it bends, you can bend it back a little bit, but you know, there's more room. Chromoly, basically chromoly is just, it's stronger but it's brittle, and once it's wrecked, it's done. And nowadays in these drift cars, they're fighting to keep weight on them, you know, so that they could be in a certain class to run a certain tire size and everything like that. That if you were to take the extra 100 pounds you'd get from a Dom cage by doing a chromoly cage, you'd probably end up running into more trouble than you know, it actually helping you.
Yeah, and it's more expensive.
Yeah.
Paul Doiron. When are you going to start the LS build, and are you waiting for any more parts for the car? Also, what on the car part-wise is holding you back the most from getting it all finished? Shout out from PJ here in Portland, Oregon. P-Town. Shout out P-Town. We're going to start on the engine probably at the end of this week, right?
Yeah, as soon as we're done with the fabrication.
Yeah, so probably the end of the week. We are waiting on a couple things for the engine. Cam, push rods.
Yeah, any items that we're waiting for on the motor aren't any items that are going to hold us up.
Yeah.
You know, they're not going to be specially made for it or anything like that. Everything, I've already spec'd the cam. I already know who is grinding the cam for us. The cam only has about a week lead time on it once, you know, everything gets put through. So really nothing on the motor side is holding us up at all. It's just the actual time to do all the fabrication is what has been taking all the time, you know.
Yeah. This shit takes time. It sucks, but it does. YouTube user Vash Tizzle 1215. This question is more geared towards Tom. What is a good starting TIG welder?
Ooh. It depends on what you want to use it for. I mean, that's what it comes down to. It. You know, there's a lot more that have come out since, you know, in the past couple of years that are more attainable on, you know, a lower budget. I still use the first TIG machine I ever bought. You know, it's an HTP Invertig 221, and I think that one comes in several different options, but it's got all the adjustments and everything that you would see on like a Dynasty 350. It would just only go up to 220. That machine's $2,500 for the base model, and I mean, that's what I've had for, I don't even know how many years now, but it's never failed on me. It's never gone down. All the machines I use currently are HTP. So my MIG welder's HTP, my plasma cutter's HTP, my TIG welder's HTP. You know, they're a fabulous company. You know, never had any of them go down on me. You know, if I ever need anything, I call the company up and they have all the parts on the shelf, and they're very nice and pleasant to deal with. So. But I would say the HTP is a good one. Your other option is you can try looking for a used one. I know Everlast and a bunch of other companies now have some cheaper ones that are around like the $1,200 mark. But
God damn.
Either way, anything below, you know, under $1,000, I'd be weary because it's not going to be able to do enough.
So yeah, spend $1,000 and you'll probably get a good TIG welder.
Try looking for them used, too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
The economy isn't so good in a lot of the United States, so a lot of people are selling their stuff to try to get money.
Okay, YouTube user Hugo Gonzalez, why did you choose a S14 chassis? So, when I first started doing the raffle, and, you know, there was this thought that, you know, I might make a shit ton of money. I was like, well, if I'm going to make a shit ton of money off of it, I should build something really cool, you know, so people know that the money was well spent. So the plan was, I have a couple friends in Canada that import JDM cars. So it's either going to be an S15 or a JZX100. And then I didn't make a shit ton of money. I made a good amount of money, don't get me wrong, and that's what's helped out with this build. But so then it was okay, I'm either going to do an E46 with a built one, not a built 1J, but a 1J with a big single, or an S14 with a 1J with a big single, just stock engine. And I thought I'd found a good E46, and the dude just fell through. And the next day, this kid who's local back home, everybody kind of knew him. I'd seen the car before. He was like, "Oh, I'm selling my car," and I was like, "I'll buy the shell." So that day I went and bought the shell, and then, you know, the 1J was supposed to happen, and then, you know, pushing for 500 horsepower on a stock 1J is damn near impossible to make it reliable. And then also the cams, you have to upgrade the cams, and cams for those things are expensive, injectors are expensive. And I reached out to Tom, and I'm gonna get to, there's another question in here kind of talking about this more, and I'll answer that when I get there. But yeah, that's how I chose it, and I like this chassis a lot. You know, a lot of cool S14s are out there that kind of motivated me to go in the route that I'm going. Forrest Wang's builds have always been really nice, and I always really like those. So yeah, now we have one. Oh, here's the question. Okay, YouTube user Tyler Ruffiner. There's 3 questions here, but okay. First one for Tom. Where did Tom go to school?
For what?
High school?
High school?
Virginia?
Grade school?
Did you go to college?
If you're talking about, no, I attended college for a year. And, yeah.
What did you go to college for, though?
Drinking?
Drinking?
No.
Tom does not drink at all anymore.
Yeah.
10 years sober. How fucking sick is
That's
that? And it helps me. I go out maybe once every 2 weeks. You know?
I don't know. Yeah.
Maybe once a week. I don't know. But not that much.
So, but I guess if I don't think you're asking where I went to college or school or anything like that. I'm sure you're probably asking about welding and stuff like that, on if I went to a trade school or something like that, which I didn't. I just had the opportunity to teach myself, and I was in a situation where I had the welders available to me. Well, The MIG welder and everything like that, I taught myself because I had to buy it. But then for TIG welding, I actually started working at a company that had a TIG welder, and I kept staying late and just started messing with it and just kind of, you know, saw what happened when I did this, and, you know, cause and effect, and just kind of went from there and slowly taught myself, you know, how to weld. And everything that I've done, whether it be from engine building to fabrication to welding to sheet metal work, all that stuff is self-taught. You know, I did it enough before I decided to do it for other people that I had worked out all the kinks. But yeah, so anything that I've learned that I've just taught myself.
Trial and error.
Yep.
Okay, and then the second question was, how did you two meet? Back in November of last year.
Backpage. It
wasn't Backpage. We met back in November. Pat Gooden hit me and Jeff Stonebeck up and was like, hey, we have this big drift event, it's 3 days long. You guys should come out. And I was like, well, do you have a car for us to like drive or something? And he's like, well, I have a friend who has a car and he's gonna put it together so that, you know, it can be driven at this event. You and Jeff can share it and whatever. I was like, fuck it, all right. So I bought my ticket, and Raven came too, right? Yeah, she came. So me and Raven flew to Florida. There's a video of this also. If you go back far enough, it's called like Black Friday Drift Event or something. But I came out here, and I came to Tom's shop, and he put together his S13. It had a stock SR, an angle kit. He did a cage in like, what, 2 days? Yeah. Caged it in 2 days, and then we just beat the shit out of it for 3 days, and it did pretty good. Shut off on me once, and I got T-boned, but that was it. So yeah, I met him then. It was a good time. We had fun, and then I went home, and when I wanted to build this new car, I was pretty stressed about the 1J and like it even happening at all. And I knew that Pat had worked with him. You basically built his last engine, right?
Yeah, the motor that's. Yes, that was in the car a previous year for 2016. I built the motor for his FD car.
The motor that's still in Pat's car in FD right now, Tom built it.
Yeah.
So when they built a new motor and it failed, Tom's motor went back in and got Pat through the season so far. Yeah. But anyways, I knew Pat had left and gone to Huddy Racing, and I was like, well, you know, maybe this guy wants, you know, he doesn't have Pat there anymore really full time to like promote the shop, and I was like, maybe he could use, you know, some help. And we'd already gotten along, so I was like, I just called him, and I was like, hey, listen, this is the deal. I'm fucked. I need to get this car together. Do you want to come on board and help out? You know, and we talked for a little bit, and then, 3 weeks later, I moved to Florida.
Yeah.
Maybe a month or two later.
It's a little bit longer than 3 weeks. But
2 months.
Yeah.
2 months.
It's supposed to be April 1st.
Yeah, so it would have been like 3 weeks, but I had some setbacks with getting the trailer and stuff. But we made it here, and this is where we're at now, you know, and that's how I feel like a lot of people have opportunities or possible opportunities, and they don't take them because it's risky. But for me, I've always lived my life. If you have an opportunity, and it seems too good to be true, or it is a good opportunity, I will fucking beat myself up about it the rest of my life if I don't at least try. If you try and it doesn't work, well, at least you know it didn't work, you know. But if you don't try in the first place, then, you know, you might have missed out on something that could change your life forever. So just always take advantage of opportunities that could possibly better your life. Even if it doesn't work out, at least you fucking tried, and maybe it did better your life, maybe it didn't. YouTube user Angelo Ortiz, what is your favorite part of the car so far, and what will be your favorite part of the car when it's done? Good luck with drifting. Hope you do really good. Thank you. I appreciate that. My favorite part of the car so far is probably just the fact that everything is new. I've never built a car where everything is brand new, and that makes installation and everything a lot easier. And then later on, the reliability factor of all that will be awesome. And then another thing is, I've always been a JZ guy. You guys know that. But the whole V8 thing has really grown on me. I feel like overall, I'm kind of like an aggressive person. I'm not like real laid back. I mean, I'm laid back, but I'm kind of, you know, an aggressive dude. So just the roar of a quick revving, big cam V8, big cubic inch, mid cubic inch, just has that roar, that special roar that the JZs just don't have. And I'm excited to drive a car with that and hear it, you know. And I mean, we're basically essentially building the same motor that Pat has, minus his Pro Charger, and I know what Pat's motor sounds like, and it fucking just sounds fantastic. So it's gonna be sick. I can't wait for pretty much the whole car though. YouTuber Peter-Jan Van D Vordy. That's your name, dog. You speak good English for having a name like that. Hey Caleb, what amount of horsepower are you looking to get? And Tom, what kind of welder do you use? With which settings? Love the build. Greetings from Belgium. Oh, that makes sense now. Alright, so horsepower, there's a lot to mess with. I mean, even though it's just an NA motor, there's a lot that you can do to maximize the horsepower or hurt yourself in horsepower between, you know, headers, cam, the intake manifold. This is probably a better question for Tom than me, so I'm just gonna let him take over.
Basically, with the motor that we're building for him, I'd be happy if we see between 530 and 550 to the wheels right out the box. You know, and then once we do that, we get it dynoed and everything like that, and we start breaking the motor in and start testing with the car. We'll actually go back later on, and then I'll change stuff. I want to have a benchmark first so I know where we start at, and then where we see that the engine suffers or it needs to be changed here and there, you know, between different types of intake manifolds, advancing the cam, you know, there's several different things that we can do. So there's so many things that you're going to change that you gotta establish a baseline horsepower amount first. And with the builds that I've done before and the combinations that I've done before, this motor that we're going to be doing will put down probably around 530 to 550 to the wheels. So it just, yeah, horsepower.
That's crazy. What about for torque?
Torque probably around like just shy of that torque, maybe like 20 less.
Isn't that crazy, guys?
So.
Just saying, we could have built the 1J with 500 horsepower and 380 foot-pounds of torque. Yeah, so thank you, Tom. What about, we answered the questions about
HTP, usaweld.com.
There you go. All right. Oh, here we go. Okay. YouTube user Adam Justice, just curious, are you going rear radiator? If so, besides cost, why would you not? Well, cost pretty much just plays a big part in that, and then also the time frame, because we're already really far behind on having this car done. It was supposed to be done in May, and now we're in June. But that's not that far behind, a month. But, you know, that's a lot more fabrication, and it's really expensive to run coolant lines, and it's just more work and more money. So we don't really have that right now. Later on, probably do that
if it's needed.
If it's needed, yeah. I mean,
but if it's not needed, why do it? It's just harder to work on the car.
Yeah.
When it's at the track, and you want to make everything accessible, easy, you know, so that you can work on it in a hurry when you only have 5 minutes to put everything, you know, tear it down and put it back together, to fix it, to get back out on grid. You know, the last thing I'd want to do is make a complicated setup where you have to remove half the stuff just to get to one thing, you know?
True. Okay, YouTube user Firestar Lenzen. For the comment video, my question is, how much does it typically cost to have a tube front end? And if you go tube front, can I have it made to fit anything like, say, an S10 with mainly Nissan front end components? Oh, that'd be a crazy combo there. But you probably spend between, for a custom tube front end, between $500 and $1,000, depending on where you go. If you live in Florida, give me a call, give me a DM, and you can come by here and talk to Tom. They make front ends that you can order from some people. We actually might be doing one here soon, which you might be able to order off my website, where it's already pre-bent. You just have somebody weld it in, and if you are savvy enough to know how to weld, that might save you some money and just not have to bend the tubing. So I'll get back to you guys about that when the time is right.
Actually, and if you have questions about like tube fronts and stuff like that, you can message me or DM me on Instagram.
Yeah. I'll put his Instagram right here.
The price range goes, it's all over the place, because it all depends on what you have to do. Like if we're chopping off from you know, just the wheel wells forward, you know, and leaving the stock frame rails right there, you know, it's going to be a lot less. But if I'm literally chopping back as far as I can go legally per the rule book, which is the front suspension pickup point, and we're getting rid of the fender mounts, the headlight mounts, radiator support, all that stuff, you're starting from zero. You know, so then basically the whole car has to be trued up, and then you're going to pull all your measurements and everything, and you have to get everything to line up to fit properly. So it can be a lot of work, it can be a little bit of work, and then also when, like he said, we're going to be working on a prefab kit, which is basically everything made, TIG welded together, and when it comes, it's literally going to be the 2 down bars with the plates already welded to them. So all you do is, in the instructions, we'll have where to cut the frame rails and where to cut the up by the shock tower and everything. And basically you'll just go ahead and put both pieces up to it, and then it'll have the center core support for the radiator and everything. Bolt that on so it'll all go together loosely, and then you can tack it into place, make sure everything's true, and then you know, go from there. But the kit will probably come with everything that you need to do that, so it'll take a lot of the complicated stuff out of it. Then after that, all you're gonna need to do is, like, you know, headlight bracket or something like that. We'll see, it's still in the works, but
we'll keep you posted. YouTube user Taylor's Adventures, man, when are you going to get a house? The hammock's pretty good, honestly, and the shop keeps me dry, so I mean, I'll be alright. But I'm gonna get a house as soon as Raven gets down here. So whenever she moves back down here full time, we'll get a house. YouTube user Hypers, he said sponsors, question mark. And I'm guessing that's for the car side of things. If you're curious, BMX sponsors. I don't know, just so I answered both. I ride for Stranger Bikes, Primo Parts, Low-Tech Shoes, and On Some Shit Clothing. But on the car side of things, there's a lot more. So I'm going to do my best right now not to forget any, because I tend to do that. So I'm going to pull this up real fast. Okay, this question is for Tom Tristan Featherston. What size and wall thickness tube was the rear built from?
the wall tubing, let's see, everything, most of the stuff that I do is 1 5/8". I do a lot of drag race stuff too, but it's 1 5/8", 095 wall tubing, Dom tubing.
Okay, YouTube user Wendy Sucks, is Hoonigan gonna be sponsoring you, and is your driver number actually gonna be 69? I've worked with Hoonigan for going on 2 years. Before I even had a running car, I was doing stuff with Hoonigan. They've kind of became like part of my, you know, my car family. Brian Scotto, Vinny, Hurt, everybody over there. They're amazing people, and they have the best intentions for the you know, the car community, and getting what we do out to, you know, the random person's eye, and getting them intrigued in the shit that we do with cars. And I will continue to work with Hoonigan for a long time. So thank you to those guys. And then, is my driver number really actually going to be 69? Yes. We're going to make this the last question because I think we're going on 30 minutes here. YouTube user JellyCup13. What fuel are you planning on using? E85 or pump gas? What we talked about originally was just doing an ethanol fuel, but then we said maybe doing a flex fuel setup.
Yeah, we're going to play with it.
We're going to play with it. I mean, do you think that we can make that 550 on pump gas?
Yeah. 93 octane. I mean, we have the ability, with the motor that we're building, it's going to have the ability to do it on 93 octane, E85, you know,
Q16.
Any of the C16, Q16, all that stuff. But the main thing was, we were talking about using a flex fuel sensor so that if we ever, we're going to bring fuel to the events, but, you know, we'll at most probably have 2 or like a 55-gallon drum, you know, in the bed of the truck or in the trailer or something like that. So, but if we do run out and we're going to a gas station that's a local, you know, by the local track or wherever we are, you know, in the United States, we want to be able to have the ability to run, you know, if it's only E65, you know, whatever the ethanol content is, we want the computer to be able to compensate for that without having a lot of issues. So
yeah, and explain that. Well, the ethanol stations, you know, at a normal gas station, if they say they've got E85, not all the time is it E85.
Yeah, it varies per batch, and
yeah, so
on
you have to have a tester that tests the amount of ethanol and the flex fuel sensor would compensate for the differences in ethanol percentages. But that's going to do it. Thank you guys for watching. I hope we answered a bunch of your questions. Make sure to follow Tom on Instagram. You spill coffee on yourself?
Yeah.
Nice. Make sure to follow Tom on Instagram. I'll put it right here. Don't forget to pick up a, right here. Don't forget to pick up a Carlos sticker, add to the boner, or an LS Quan. Come here. An LS Quan sticker. Carlos says goodbye. He misses you guys. He's right here. Say bye, Carlos.